you're all very welcome. So, as I say, welcome members to our 9th meeting of the Public Accounts Committee in this 2022-27 mandate. The committee meeting will be recorded and broadcast throughout Parliament buildings and online. However, there could be a slight delay in moving to any private session or back into public session, so please be patient. I also advise that those in the public gallery, of course, welcome to use mobile devices as long as they're in airplane mode and all devices are muted. You can also connect to the Assembly Wi-Fi. Password details are available on the gallery rules, and it's not permitted to take any photographs or record the meeting. So agenda item 1, apologies members. I do have an apology from Daniel McCrossan MLA, and Colin will also be late, and I think Padraig will be online very soon. Yeah. Is there any other apologies? No. Agenda item 2 then, draft minutes. Members, I refer you to the draft minutes of the meeting on the 2nd of May, page 7 to 11 of your pack, seeking agreement for the meeting, for the minutes.
Agreed.
Agreed? Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 3 then, matters arising. Members, there are no matters arising. Agenda item 4, chairperson's business. None from me. And agenda item 5 then, declarations of interest. Members, do you have any relevant declarations of interest to declare at this meeting?
Chair.
No? Excellent, thank you. Agenda item 6 then, correspondence. Members, at page 16 of your pack is correspondence dated the 1st of May 2024 from Pivotal regarding their report on economic inactivity, requesting an opportunity to brief the PAC. Members, if you wish, we can invite Pivotal to brief the committee on their report at a future date when the forward work programme permits. Is everyone happy with that?
Content?
Right? Yeah. Members, at pages 17 to 30 is correspondence dated the 2nd of May 2024 from the NIAO enclosing their corporate plan 2024 to 2029 and an NIAO public reporting forward work programme from 2024 to 2025. Members, are you content to note this correspondence?
Yeah.
Thank you. Members, at page 31 of the pack, there is correspondence dated the 2nd of May 2024 from a Mr David Fry, Construction Employers Federation, offering to assist the PAC inquiry into public sector procurement in Northern Ireland. If you would like to invite the Construction Employers Federation to provide some written evidence into this inquiry, and then if we feel there's any other need, we can revisit this after the session next week. Are members happy?
Happy with that, Chair.
Excellent, thank you very much. Members, we're now going to move into closed session. No? No? No, members, we're not going to move into closed session.
Okay, Chair. Whatever you say, thank you.
We're going to move to agenda item 7 then, an MOR on closing the gap, social deprivation and links to educational attainment. So welcome to the meeting today, Mr Rena Carville, Controller and Auditor General, Mr Patrick Barr, Director of NIAO, and Mr Cal Bingham, Assembly Support Officer. So members, I refer to the update on the Memorandum of Reply on closing the gap at pages 33 to 44 of the pack. I'm going to ask the clerk to provide a brief to the committee.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to give you a high-level summary of this MOR. There is quite a lot of detail in it. In total, there were 13 recommendations into closing the gap between social deprivation and links to educational attainment. So this was a report from the last mandate, and there was a lot of work by the committee was actually done into this, and I think that's reflected in the number of recommendations in the report. So of the recommendations, there were 13, and there was 11 that was accepted, 2 of which have been implemented, and then there's 2 others. Recommendation 5 and 12 have been partially accepted, and the reasons are outlined as to why they've only been partially accepted. In general, while there's a lot of positive things in the responses, there may be areas where the committee might want to look for a bit more clarification and information around, you know, timelines, and just more detail where they have said that they've or whether they've accepted the recommendations. A bit more detail on, you know, how they're going to go about that. I did note, just from looking through some of the prohibitive factors that quoted would be industrial action and funding constraints, which, you know, would be decisions for the executive. So those would be my observations, and just then one other one, recommendation 8, which is around attendance. I think again that would be an example of one where it'd be useful to get you know, more of a timeline and just a bit more detail on how that can be addressed in terms of how that recommendation is, you know, supposed to help reduce the gap in social deprivation. So sometimes just those links could be maybe clearer in how they've been addressed. So that's really all at this stage I've got to say, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask the CNAG for any comments that they have.
Yeah, I think I would concur with the clerk. You know, this was a very important subject area for the last committee. When we have reviewed the responses here, in some areas they do lack detail on what's actually being actioned, and there were unclear as to timelines for those actions. So certainly I think if the committee were minded to, you could invite the department to come back to committee and give you further update on what is actually being actioned and when we will see full implementation of those actions.
Or would members be happy with that?
Yeah, it's down to you. Course of action.
No problem.
Is somebody trying to dial in or something? I don't know where that noise is coming through.
Some of your it's not me, but I'm silent over here, you know, for the first time ever.
It's coming from over there.
Yeah. So, I don't know, check to see is they're all on mute there.
You're playing a wee tune there on your computer.
Just, it could be if your volume's not turned down. But generally the sound, if there's emails coming through, so if you just check on your own devices and put your volume to naught, that could help. Not being a technical expert, that's as much as I can offer at this stage.
Must have solved that.
So members, just with that then, is there any further comments on the MOR, or is there any further questions at all? No? So members, if you're happy, we will write to the Department for Education Accounting Officer to request attendance at the PAC prior to summer recess to address any of the committee's concerns around the MOR, including the need for further detail, clarification on specific timelines and progress against the committee's recommendations. If we also copy in the Education Committee as well? Yeah, that's super. Members happy to move forward then? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, then, so MOR report on planning within Northern Ireland. Members refer to the Memorandum of Reply on planning in Northern Ireland at pages 46 to 53 of the pack. I'm going to ask the clerk to provide a brief update to the committee.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Again, it would some of the same things I would say about this one as well. Again, apologies for the sound effects here. So,
What's going on? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'll take the plunge. I'll take the plunge here. I'll get a different division because it's definitely.
It's not you.
It could be. It's on silent, but
It's still coming. You're shut down.
I'm gonna. This is interfering with the system here.
sorry, just get from the page.
Oh, it's not you.
Out of the road.
Might be the moment.
Here.
Some of the other devices.
Coming through the papers online.
Yeah, it's online, I think.
It's definitely coming from there, isn't it? Kirsten? Yeah.
Okay, well, if you can maybe just, maybe when I talk, you might not hear so much. Okay, so in relation to this MOR, this was the just as a way of background, this was the last inquiry that the previous committee did before the end of that mandate. So it was like a tremendous amount of work that went into this at that very busy time with a very substantial report. So there was 12 recommendations again, very positive that DFI have accepted them all to varying degrees. So 12 accepted. They have listed recommendations 1, 2 and 12 as implemented. There are a number of recommendations where they state that they've implemented the bits where they have responsibility for, so there would be other aspects of those recommendations which would be down to local councils, which they can't provide any comment on. Just if you get into the detail, then again I would say that it would be worth the committee pursuing some of the actual timelines and just a bit more detail around how the recommendations are to be implemented. Recommendation 3, if I could draw your attention to that one in particular. DFI, they've initiated and developed a planning improvement programme, and they do say that they'll provide a copy of that to the committee, and are happy to update the committee on progress made at any point. So again, I would encourage members to seek that update. There is a number where they quote that legislation will be needed. Recommendation 7, which touches on issues around rural planning. That again may be an area where the committee might want to seek a bit more information. And then there's a recommendation 8, which is sort of talks about the need for cultural change. And again, it could be useful just to get a bit more information on how, while they say that they are doing that, how are they doing that? How is cultural change being, driven forward? And yes, generally just around collaboration as well, if there is a bit more they could say around that. So those were my initial observations on this MOR.
Thank you very much. I'll pass over to the CNAG if you have any comments on this one.
Yeah, similarly, Chair, thank you. Obviously, members, this is a big public interest area as well as an area, and we were just looking at our own planning report, which we published in 2022. It remains one of our top most downloaded items from our website, so it's still very much an area of public interest. I think when we look through the recommendations, it is really encouraging that 5 of the 12 the department have responded or implemented, and I think it would be worth then maybe inviting the department to advise you what impact that implementation has had on the planning system. But also then looking at whether or not the responses fully address the committee's concerns that the last inquiry had. So certainly I would concur again with the clerk. It would be worth inviting the department up to give you further update, as they have offered to do.
Great. Any comments from members? Yes, Dan.
I wonder if we got possibility to add to this or ask for further evidence in terms of I have very specific issues and concerns in my constituency where I would be interested to know what it is amongst all councils. So currently within Newry Morning Down Council, it's taken 6 months to get allocated a planning officer before it starts. Yeah. Really, really tiny amendments are holding major construction projects up because they don't have staff right through the planning department. So if you're trying to get planning in this council at all, it's just a complete and utter standstill. So it's just, if we have a council that is staffed like that, are they looking to others? Are they trying to progress anything? Or is it just a standstill in that area? And are other council areas suffering the same? Because it just makes you know, the feedback would be I covered Newry Morning Down and ABC Council, and I just feel like anybody that's on the border of the both is very disadvantaged if they're in Newry Morning Down Council trying to get planning at the minute. It's a huge issue, so it's just that regional disparity again.
Yes, go ahead, John.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, further to that point, I think that I don't know whether our remit can stretch into council officers and plan departments within councils, but the two go hand in hand. And the evidence that I'm seeing certainly is that there are multiple levels of ability in terms of the planning committee, particularly based on the amount of money that's put into training the councillors that sit on those as well. So we can't have a 3 or 4 tiered system in terms of our postcode lottery, so it would be good to dive into both what Diane says and also what resources are being put forward and what expertise have been provided to those members that sit on the planning committee. It's 10 years this year since planning powers were devolved down to local government, so it's enough time, I think, to do a full assessment on that.
Thanks very much. Cathal?
Thanks, Chair, and I'm not surprised it's one of the most downloaded documents, to be honest with you. Yeah, but delighted to ask, bring the officials up, because I mean, this is something we've been looked at for a number of years, and being part of the process and bringing the act in. I mean, like 250 odd clauses of a bill. I mean, it was a big piece of work. The one of the recommendations, and it's trying to get the fine balance between, because there's a 2-tier planning system now, sure. So it's respecting the autonomy of local authority, but then the question over the inconsistencies is going across the board now. There's a number of issues, the resources and everything else, and training, and like I say, it's a good piece of work, and I think it would be timely to get them up to have a conversation and see where we're going with. But like I said, I'm happy enough to do that. Sure.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, exactly the same experience as Diane, where I have Lisburn, Castlereagh, and I have ABC. And if you're on the Lisburn side of it, it's a total absolute disaster. And a lot of that's not actually the council elected part of it. It's the lack of resource within the department. The other part of this that is causing a massive issue is judicial reviews. So whenever you actually get through, then it's so cost effective to and there's a balance in this, and I appreciate that, but to stop anything by judicial review, that then it doesn't, or the department calls it back in. So we've had multiple things where in Lisburn Castlereagh where you get it to the point and then the department calls it back, and then you can't actually access it. So the whole development plan in Lisburn Castlereagh have approved the development plan, but because the decision was called back in for land, then you can't actually realise it. So there's that element to it as well that needs, the whole system needs reviewed. So.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, along the same lines, I suppose I welcome the recommendations that has been implemented. There are a number of recommendations implemented here, but it still hasn't made any difference across councils with regards to consistency. Whenever it comes to planning, there's no consistencies across the councils at all. In West Tyrone, we're working through 2 councils, there's Fermanagh and Omagh and Derry and Strabane. And the difference in the planning in those 2 areas is like day and night in a sense. In one council you can get the thing moved on fairly quick, and the other it just seems like you're hitting a block wall all the time. So there is no consistency here, and that is causing serious problems for businesses and for even for the local person who wants to, for example, build their own house. There's huge problems and difficulties. So, we have recommendations here already, and that they're implemented, or the DFI accepts this recommendation and is implemented, but doesn't seem to be making any difference across the council areas. So we really do need to get planning in here from it to question them again on this whole issue of the inconsistencies that's still there, that's causing huge problems for developers and for businesses.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Colin.
Thank you, and apologies, we had a communities meeting in Dungannon earlier, so that ran on a little, which is why I was late. But interestingly, we finished up on this very subject around barriers to housing and planning being one of them. And in relation to recommendation 9 there, committee recommends local governments should implement immediately to improve the quality of applications entering the system, and that's fair, and that's definitely good. One of the issues we identified, and we were talking about earlier, was responses from statutory agencies to planning permissions. I don't know if that's mentioned before or covered, but that is, and I'm dealing with several cases where a simple letter back is just holding up maybe 60 houses.
Yeah. Sorry, David, you want to come in again?
Very. So I declare an interest. So I was in development prior, but the bugbear in all of this is you pay for a service, and the councils get that money, or DFI get that money. The consultations, they don't pay for them. So the departments aren't resourced by the fee that goes in, it doesn't actually, the fee goes into the planning service, but they need to consult with all the consultants. They actually don't get any money for any of that money, and there's something not right in that. So we're asking the departments to fund that, and that's fair enough, but you're a customer. If you're putting an application in, you're not getting that service from your local council or from your, and that part of it, where's that fee go? And a lot of big business guys, when they're applying for stuff, going, what are we paying for? Because they don't pay for those consultations, is what I'm saying.
No, that's great. Cathal, do you want to come back in again?
Yeah, Chair, I love this subject. I have to come back in this. Because I mean, I've heard all the debates and all the arguments before. We just got to understand what we've done. I mean, there's a good report here and recommendations. The department has a certain role, and then it's down to local authority how they run their business. I do agree that there are challenges for them. I mean, we haven't even gone into the NAW thing and the capacity and the lack of capacity and everything. There's an amalgamation of things there, and I think the best thing is, for some of the issues that's been raised today, I mean, let's get the officials in, let's see what they're saying, but ultimately, probably, it's the likes of Nilger, it's council, some council group and officials that we need to have a conversation with as well. I don't know if it's inside our remit or not. It's slightly outside this report, to be fair, but to get a better understanding, we certainly know as individual representatives what's going on, but for this report and for what they've tried, I think this has been managed very well. It's just to see how it's been implemented and what more we can do other than review the plan in itself. But you know, I've heard the good debates before, and I mean, people are entitled to opinions. But
Oh, thank you. Trina, do you want to come in?
Yeah, so just listening to a number of the topics there, I think if you do invite the department back in, obviously one of the recommendations in your report was around the oversight role that the department does need to have of the system. So there are specific recommendations around JRs at recommendation 6, around that oversight. Around statutory consultees, which was part of recommendation 9, and even around that longer term funding model, David, that you picked up at recommendation 11. So there's a lot of your concerns can be addressed by the department. In terms of councils then, as you say, Cathal, understandably there are 11 sovereign bodies. At the time of your last inquiry, though, a representative from Solus, the group of chief executives, did come to the committee. So you could invite them to attend as well. Whether or not you would find it more useful to speak to departmental officials in the first instance and then follow up with a representative from Solus, it might allow you to get some of your answers and then delve that little bit deeper if that's necessary. That would probably be one way forward, Chair.
No, I appreciate that. And just to come on to that, I suppose in terms of planning, it doesn't seem to be within the report, but conservation areas, I know it's something that we have had a significant, I'm sure John you would know, through Stuntrim, planning within a conservation area and the struggles there for particularly town centres, and the restrictions that planning places on those, whether it be businesses or anything. So it would be good to tie all that in. But so members, with that then, and everything that's been said today, I know there's a lot of wantedness as well and a lot of appetite. So if we can write to the DFI accounting officer to request attendance then at our next PAC prior to the summer recess to address any of these concerns around the MOR, including the need for further detail, timelines, progress against our committee's recommendations, and we'll take into account everything that was said today. Would members be happy with that? And then on that basis, then if we look at Solus at a later date, once we have that information.
you.
Happy with that? Yep. That's great. Thank you very much. So now I think We are going in to closed session. Yes. Sorry. Members, we're now going to move into closed session.
We'll close off that.
Committee Room 21. Sound. Committee Room 21. Sound. Committee Room 21. Sound. Committee Room 21. Sound. Committee Room 20.
Agenda item 10 then, draft forward work programme. So members, refer you to our draft forward work programme in the pack, pages 113. I'm going to ask the clerk to brief the committee on potential witnesses for our child poverty inquiry, and also provide some detail on the launch of our mental health inquiry on the 20th of June.
Okay. Okay, so just confirming, last week the committee discussed other potential witnesses for child poverty, and I'm just coming back just to confirm that these are the ones that you wish to write out to. So the Children's Commissioner for Northern Ireland, reason being that sit on the co-design group, and the chair of the anti-poverty co-design group potentially. And also Goretti Horgan, who's a member of the anti-poverty expert panel. Those were the names that were being suggested last week. And then some consideration in terms of written submissions. Kirsten, do you want to go through some of that?
So we have a couple of other organisations. We've got Children in NI, who are the Secretariat to the All-Party Group on Children and Young People, so she'll be able to provide quite a wide view around policy making and as an umbrella organisation. And then Save the Children obviously do a lot of research in this area as well, so it may be useful just to get their input in terms of written evidence as well. And our chair also suggested that we look to employers for childcare, because they have been looking more at access to benefits and whether the information is actually being made available to facilitate members of the public accessing the appropriate benefits. So again, they may be able to provide a very, very specific view on that as well.
I had mentioned Royal College of Paediatric Health. They had launched. Did you include them there?
Yeah.
On your notes, yeah.
Sorry, yes, sorry.
Did you mention those?
I didn't, but I have it in my notes, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ray Nethercott, I think, is the chair of it.
I had suggested last week, now maybe for this one it would be appropriate, but Diane, your APG in the voluntary and community sector and the support that they are providing, so that maybe would be an inroad there to even for a written submission. I think that would be key, you know, and how important the voluntary and community sector is.
Through NICFA maybe?
Yeah.
Are we taking written then evidence from all of these? Is that what the way that's going to work?
Yeah, unless the other option would be to wait till closer to the time when you're actually looking through the report in a bit more detail. I think the key is to get the witnesses, at least for the oral evidence session.
Are members happy with?
Sorry, just on the written evidence, I think you are you suggesting that you're specific in what you ask for written evidence on? Because just that's quite a wide remit there, you know.
On 4 pages of something.
Like employers for childcare and access to benefits, we don't go into that in great detail in the report. There's no evidence, you know. I know it's a contributory factor for child poverty, but if we go into the benefit system, you're opening a really wide door of complexity there. So it's I suppose my advice would be very clear on what you're asking for written evidence on, and how that relates to your inquiry. So it's whether you do that now or later in the inquiry might be worth consideration.
Yep,
Just to ask the clerk, like what would you think would be the best thing to do?
Well, at this stage, I would just agree on who you want to write out to, to invite to give oral evidence, and maybe at a later date when you're over the issues more, return to the ones you want to write to for written evidence.
Yep.
Long list.
There's a good lot of people there. So members happy with that then? Yep. Yep, that's super. And if you want to give an update then on our launch of the inquiry.
Yes, so last week I said I'd go away and look at what options there was for the launch of the mental health inquiry. We're still hoping that we'll be, able to publish that on the 20th of June. That being the case, proposal would be to have some sort of launch between, say, 12:30 and 1:30. So that's just before the committee meets that day anyway. So we're just trying to work it around diaries and that. And we've managed to secure a room, so 115. So subject to, you've been content to go for that. Because if we get a date in the diary and a room, we can work out the rest of the details in due course.
Sounds good.
Yeah, happy with that?
Won't be here, Chair.
We note your apologies, Cathal.
I'll make it that day, unfortunately.
Mondays meets it from 10 to 1, so if we can avoid that slot.
Okay.
On that same, that's a Thursday as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I know that is there's always going to be overlap. So we're securing the room from 12 to 2, so we can work within those parameters. And even if we did a quarter to 1.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. I could ask the deputy chair to step in or whatever.
Yeah, it's just otherwise it could be a wee bit rushed, unless she wanted to delay the start of PAC, the actual formal meeting. So that would be.
No, that's grand. It would work if we could work around that. That would work all right.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Yeah.
That's everything. Yeah.
No problem. Just to seek them views on the draft forward work programme. Members, are you happy with our work programme so far? Yep, great. Item 11 then, any other business? I have no other business. Nothing? No. Agenda item 12 then, date, time and place of our next meeting. So to advise the committee, our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday the 16th of May 2024 at 2 p.m. in room 21. So as a committee, happy to adjourn? Yep. Thank you.
Committee Room 21. Sound.